I'm Andrew Stokes. I work at Mount Street Academy in Lincoln and I'm the site manager.
I'm Paul Quincy. I work at Mount Street Academy in Lincoln, Lincoln Carlton Academy and Benjamin Adlard School, and I'm premises manager over the three schools. The way we've been operating is that we have a site manager or a caretaker in each individual schools, but then if we have a particular project or problem across the schools, we've been able to pool our resources by bringing those various roles together and operating more as a team. It does cause a challenge because obviously this is very different from a traditional setup in a school where perhaps a caretaker has been working alone. We've taken a much more a team approach so that we've been able to utilise the skills of each individual to the best and hopefully then to the benefit of any of the schools where we're working.
Yeah, I think the site managers on an individual schools each have a different skills through their experience and their previous experience within schools, and we're able to harness that. We communicate across the three schools, we find out each of the skills of the site managers, and then we're able to mix and match as to who's best for what roles within that.
One particular issue we had was the replacement of a boiler in part of the school. It didn't cover the whole school but was covering a number of classrooms, and we had a particular issue on this. It was quite pressured in that this was in the winter and obviously we had to provide heat for the schools. We were able for a few weeks to manage to limp by, which really meant Andrew was coming in on an early basis to get this boiler to start in the morning. But again, by being able to ask questions across the three schools, we picked up skills of particularly a colleague from one of the other schools who had quite a lot of experience in the operation side of a boiler, and we managed to drill down into the problem to understand what was the particular issue we were having, so that when we actually then went out to tender to our contractors, we were in a much better position to negotiate with them because we had some measure of understanding of the fault. Once we dealt with contractors, we weren't just going with a blank canvas of come and put us a new heating system in. We had identified exactly where the issues were, what the problem was, and although it ultimately meant we had to change the boiler completely, it wasn't a total rip out of the system. It was just a replacement boiler. We were able to negotiate with him. We had some early quotes in, and I would say by the time we'd managed to drill down, find out exactly what the fault was, identify the best boiler for what we needed for this particular situation, we saved 50% on the total cost from our early quotations. So we eventually got it done at half the price.
And I'd just like to add that going forward from that, because we've done the investigation and we've looked at it, we have a greater understanding of the system as a whole and how it operates. So probably any one of three of us can come in, and we've got a good working knowledge of the operation of the system. So in the future, if we have any problems, we would probably know where to go more directly. We were asked to look at the early years foundation stage area, outside area, and because of my previous expertise in playgrounds, we put together a plan for the area which involved liaison with the teachers to find out exactly what they required. We then put together a plan and we were able to utilise the labour force, if you like, across the three schools. Paul, myself and Mick, we came across and actually laid it out, installed it all. But because we were providing the labour for that, we were able to buy in specific pieces of equipment for the area. We weren't just reliant on one contractor supplying us with what they wanted to supply us with. We were able to mix and match that and put together a complete scheme for for the benefit of the early years stage.
I think one of the things that we also did was, once we had a plan and we knew exactly what it was we were looking for, we were then able to go direct to suppliers for some of the equipment. If you just look in sort of the normal catalogues that would be prevalent among sort of the education sector, you'll see all the equipment there, but obviously you're paying a premium price just from a catalogue. But by having a plan in place, understanding exactly what it was that the staff wanted, we could be quite specific in what piece of equipment we wanted, and then went direct to a supplier and asked them to supply direct. And again, considerable savings were made by being able to do that on the actual purchase of equipment. And then, as Andrew said, by installing it ourselves, obviously we've made significant savings over the whole project.
We also looked at what resources we actually had on site. For instance, we had some fencing which was pretty tumbled down, but in essence we looked at it and found that it was sound. So we actually were able to recycle that, reuse it, bring it back up to spec, and so get savings from using the resources that we had on site as well.
And perhaps one other challenge that we had, so within this piece of equipment we actually have installed a boulder field. Now when parents first saw that, you could almost see the horror on their face when they were looking, thinking, are you actually going to let my child play on that? But by working closely with the staff and identifying that actually what we were creating was an educational environment, not a playground, and that this would be supervised, and by ensuring that staff understood really clearly how it was to be operated, had some training on how it should be used, we had appropriate risk assessments written so that we'd actually covered the risk. What we've been able to do is have an environment where children understand and learn about risk, but in an environment which is actually controlled. And so it's not just an open playground, and it's not just a free-for-all. And in fact, on the actual site you can see there are actually notices there, so that parents, members of the public coming in can actually read, this is not a free-for-all. You can't just let your children run on this. It's supervised with our staff who have actually had training on how to operate it. So it was important to have that sort of total package really, and have the buy-in of the teaching staff and the training, so that we've got a piece of equipment, but it's actually been utilised as an actual education tool, as opposed to just a playground area.
And that process has been helped massively because we're here every day. So there's that constant interaction, so we can adapt and change things if necessary as we go along, because we're here all the time. So they've been able to see the process, and we're here and we can talk to them all the time. So it just helps the overall effect massively.